In the year 2030, a new blood sport has taken the world by storm. The players are bold. The arenas are dangerous. The rhythm is epic. Enter the Rollerdrome. Rollerdrome is the latest title from Roll7 and Private Division, and they've been very busy this year. Between the release of this title, OlliOlli World, and its Void Riders DLC, we've seen a lot from these folks, and I couldn't be happier about it. I sang their praises in my review of OlliOlli World, and Rollerdrome only strengthens any feelings of goodwill I've already had for them since I first played OlliOlli 2. Rollerdrome seems to me to be a game of insanely disparate influences. It's immediately reminiscent of 1975's Rollerball, Death Race 2000, and other dystopian action sci-fi from that era. It also kind of looks and plays like a monster mash of insanely different games. I've seen a lot of elements from a lot of games here, and that's not a knock, it's just something intrinsic to the motifs and execution. I see a bit of Jet Set Radio, Doom Eternal, a little Max Payne, a lot of Platinum games, namely Vanquish, and even a bit of my friend Pedro. I've often seen it called Tony Hawk with guns, and that's about as accurate as one can get when talking about the bare bones of this game. Rollerdrome follows silent protagonist Kara Hassan as she competes in her first year in the Matterhorn Rollerdrome Pro Circuit. There's not much to write home about our hero. Her story is one told through subtext and in between arena battle vignettes. On the blank slate scale, I'd argue she's even higher than Gordon Freeman. At the very least, you learn a bit about Gordon from the people around him. The only people Kara interacts with are people who are about to catch a bullet. Like any other 70s sci-fi inspired action, there's something eerie just under the surface in this world. It's animalistic and reminiscent of the gladiatorial combat of the Roman Empire. Something not so right about society. I don't know, could that be the hyper-violent gun circus and a corporation behind it? Only time will tell. It's actually kind of funny because in this type of story, the newcomer often hits the scene and they're confronted with their own morals and ideals and eventually see just how evil their government / corporation / seat of power is. This game completely eschews all of that by setting up the ominous and sinister tones and just leaving them as backdrop for the balls to the wall action. Kara's just trying to rise in the ranks and survive till the end of the season. It's actually kind of funny and refreshing. They play at some underground rebellion and other big things, and then they're just like, nope, go shoot guns and grind sick shit. Think about the implications on your own time, loser. It's all buried under what isn't even B-plot. Maybe I'm thinking about it too hard, but that's what you're supposed to do with art. The real selling point here is you get to skate around the arena and ruin everyone else's day with guns, grinds, and a girl determined to make a name as the most killingest motherfucker on the circuit. The gameplay is wild and fluid, but also pretty punishing. It either whips you into shape or you wash out quickly. There's not much middle ground. The speed and momentum are paramount to having a good time, and you get an immediate sense of frantic urgency in the arena. It's big and loud and never lets you forget what it's about. Go fast, do sick tricks, shoot shit up and dodge, dodge.
Dodge, bitch! Get out the way! Get out the way, bitch! Get out the way!
Each level begins with a giant roll-in as the player flies skate first into battle. You get 4 weapons in total, including dual pistols, a shotgun, a grenade launcher, and a chargeable ray gun rifle. To succeed in the arena, you have to keep those feet moving, dodge attacks, and capitalize on bullet time, or as this game calls it, reflex attacks, as well as the damage boosting perfect dodge super reflex attacks. That was a mouthful. All the while, you look for lines by grinding, wall riding, and grab flipping to your heart's content. Your ammo refills with tricks and dodges, so staying in perpetual motion not only keeps you alive, it keeps you reloaded. Rollerdrome understands rhythm. It's something I always say about the best skateboarding games, and I know we're not talking about a skateboarding game here, but humor me. There's a cadence and art to executing this sort of action, and Roll7 always seems to nail that respect. It's bouncy, action appropriate, and the soundtrack certainly helps. I'm a sucker for that retrofuturistic style electronic music. The soundtrack was created by Electric Dragon. I don't know much about the artist, but this soundtrack slaps so hard. Pairing music to a game is an art form in and of itself. Remember, if you can, the first time you heard Gustavo Santaolalla's melancholy Spanish guitar riffs for The Last of Us. The opening cutscene of Metal Gear Solid 2, or when the pounding sounds of Mick Gordon's Doom Eternal soundtrack kick in. These things matter. They set the tone for the whole game, and the Rollerdrome soundtrack rises to the task. There are 11 maps in total, and the designs fall under one of 4 categories, including Winter Base, Desert Base, Shopping Mall, and Sports Arena. Not super exciting, and they feel a bit generic after a while, but the specific designs, ramp and rail placement, and the like kind of make up for that. One aspect I really can't wrap my head around is how simultaneously pretty and dull the aesthetic is. They made an absolutely proper choice to feature this game in slick cell shading, but there's also not much going on in some of the environments, and I can't help but think they at least partially decided on cell shading because of that fact. The colors are relatively mute, save for a select few, and the environments are probably a big part of that. They usually account for the dullest colors. The mall areas have some shades of neon strewn about, and they probably account for the most color variation in these levels. Each level also has its own set of objectives for the player to complete. They vary from combo goals, killing enemies in specific ways, and doing specific grabs and grinds by tokens on the map. Now, where did I put that secret tape? There's a wide variety of enemies in the arena dead set on making your life absolute hell. Club-wielding grunts, snipers, teleporting hell laser techno harpies, mechs, these annoying missile boys, riot guards, and rocketeer acid jetpack assholes all clutter the arena and would love nothing more than to paste your coveralls to the wall with your guts. Though, come to think of it, for as violent and trigger-happy as Rollerdrome is, it's not particularly gory. You get some cel-shaded blood spurt from dying enemies, and that's about it. It's not completely bloodless like Fortnite, but it certainly is toned down, especially for a particularly blasé way this in-game society seems to perceive violence and death. I figured the blood would be part of the cell. The enemies on their own aren't too much of a challenge once you learn their patterns and behaviors. For example, when you got snipers on the field, you can use their incoming fire to easily trigger a super reflex state and take out other enemies on the map. Or you can coax a riot guard into doing the same, but these guys came to win and they will absolutely bombard the fuck out of you as you progress through the game. Many also create environmental hazards like polybeams, napalm fire trails, stomper acid pools, and the warhead's heat-seeking missiles. You've got to manage all these hazards as well as your spacing relative to enemies, all while taking the least damage as possible. If you're caught lacking, you'll lose a ton of health very quickly. The difficulty spike gets pretty intense pretty quickly, but it's also thrilling for that exact same reason. The level of control you feel doesn't ebb and flow as much as turns on a dime, and the game's execution makes it all the better. Do you embrace the danger, or do you play it safe? It's all very high risk, high reward. If you don't adapt, you crash and burn. The combo system is super fluid and encourages constant movement. Kills and combo tokens ensure that you keep your combo, but chipping some damage along the way can be an immense help if you're in a tight spot and have to generate more ammo. Each of your weapons is best suited to different enemies in different situations. For example, the dual pistols will barely damage giant mechs, but they'll get a big boost on a super reflex attack. They'll also provide decent chip damage for most enemies in a pinch. A shotgun blast with slug shot timing is great for weaker enemies like grunts and snipers, but will only give middling to low damage on enemies with defenses like polybeams or warheads. You can take out a fair amount of extremely tough enemies with a super reflex attack and a fully charged laser rifle, or get some extra mileage out of a grenade. It's really all about finding what works in that exact situation you're in. It's all pretty fast-paced stuff, but the reflex action helps you center yourself and give you a second to think about what implementation is best in your current situation. And sometimes attacking isn't the best move. Taking care of a half a dozen heat-seeking missiles or getting out of the immediate vicinity of a mech or stomper is a better call. The game makes you balance between breakneck reflexes and strategy to strike a balance in gameplay, and it's one of the better aspects of it. The trick list is pretty vast, but not super exciting. Many of the grinds look similar, and some are a pain in the ass to pull off. Executing different tricks can sometimes feel unreliable. It's a lot of double taps with sticks in different directions, and that has really never felt like a great way to pull off a maneuver on the controller. Like when I play Tony Hawk, I don't use a stick. Frankly, I'd be shocked if anyone does, but the D-pad is otherwise occupied, so we do what we can with what we got. Maybe that's just me. It can be sort of a pain in the ass because the game relies heavily on trick variation, but executing desired tricks doesn't always seem so reliable. Much like Tony Hawk in games of its ilk, repeating the same tricks over and over soon starts to deliver diminishing returns, which can obviously be a problem when trying to build your score, quickly replenish ammo, or complete the level objectives. Playing it also makes my hands hurt, quite honestly. The gameplay leaves me really tense at times, and I don't even notice myself gripping my controller so hard I have to take more frequent breaks than usual. The game also has one boss, the spider tank, which is kinda whack. Two if you want to get technical about it, but it's really the same fight twice, with the second encounter being much harder. And it's not the boss that makes it particularly hard. Sure, it gets some extra attacks, but it's the company this fucker keeps. They keep plopping in more and more of the hardest enemy types, so your focus becomes very split really quickly. Though it's very much in line with the progression difficulty of the game, and speaking of difficulty, once you finish the last level, you unlock the Out for Blood mode. Out for Blood is the highest level challenge of the game and features the same 11 levels with way too many goddamn enemies who do far more damage. Bright side here, you got a pretty dope black jumpsuit, so that's not nothing. I know that probably sounds facetious, but I'm deadass counting it as a win. Also, become familiar with this. You'll see this a lot. One slip, one missed dodge, or misplaced attack can possibly ruin all the progress you're making. It's just so next level. Every time I play, I've just been scraping by and living by the skin of my teeth, and I feel like I should be previewing a bit of this just for posterity. Although I've had some complaints, I really enjoy Rollerdrome and really recommend it for players looking for raw and unabashed action challenges. It's not exactly casual and not at all chill. Sometimes you want a stupid hard game that doesn't let up, and Rollerdrome succeeds in that way in an extreme and entertaining way. Another big tell that this is a 70s sci-fi action style throwback, it's set in the super futuristic year of 2030. How far off that must have seemed at the time. I mean, that's only 8 years out now. Yeah. Oh, shit.